In this video, I'd like to introduce Tangora's News Module. In the next few minutes, we'll demonstrate the basics of how the News Module works. We'll take a quick look at some implementations, and then we'll create our own news item and see how it gets published on our site. The News Module is used to centrally create news items which could be published on your site automatically in various ways, depending on your solution setup, as well as date and category information which you give your news items. Let's take a look. I have up on screen the news page of our demo site Frez, which is a fictive organic food company. Here we have an overview of all the current news items spread over a couple of pages. If I click on an item, I get a detailed view of that news item. The layout is fully customizable, so I show only those elements which I deem relevant. For example, I could omit an image in the overview, or I could choose to show more news items on an overview page, just to name a couple of examples. To further illustrate this point, and to show another aspect of how this ability to customize can be really useful, I'm going to jump to another page in my solution. In here I just want to point out that I have a news teaser in the right-hand column. Whether or not this column appears can vary from page to page depending on if I deem it relevant. But now let's roll up our sleeves and create a news item in Tangora Manager and see how we could publish this news item. As I've shown, I may have different places where I show my news items, and the definitions of how I display my news are defined in the Pages area. But once these rules have been set up, I'll probably spend most of my time working with the central data. To do this, I'll go into the Modules area and choose News, and then I'll click on the news database News English. Let's take a look at what we have here. Basically, we have all our news items ordered by date, and we also notice that they're categorized. For example, they're categories for our business partners, producers and stores, in addition to news approved for everybody, which is further categorized into subcategories. We can see that there's a news item about improved distribution marked only for our business partners with no relevance to our general audience. Therefore, based on the categorization and the setup of our news pages, this news item does not appear on our public site. Any given news item can have up to 3 categories applied to it, and you can create as many categories as you want. We could also see that there is a news date, which is the date from which the news item is applicable, as well as an expiration date. And these dates determine whether a news item is current or not. If I want to edit a news item, all I have to do is choose that news item and either double-click on it or hit the Edit button. And here I could just make a quick change and save it. And we'll be able to see that change on the public site. If I have a new news item, I'll click on the Create button, and then it's simply a matter of typing in the relevant information. I would add a news heading or headline. Let's say the deadline is approaching for one of our events, A Course in Organic Production. And the start date, which appears automatically, and naturally I can change it if I wanted to. It's a good idea to add an end date here, which coincides with the holding of the event. In this way, we could be assured that the news is always up to date. Then there's a short text, which is a sort of subheader, and the news text itself. I can format the news text as I please, including adding formatting and styles, links, pictures, and tables. If I jump down a bit, I want to point out that you could also add a single image or a link to a story if you want there to be uniformity in the way in which your news is displayed. Naturally, you could use a combination of both approaches, which is what we'll do here. And what I could do is make some internal section headers just by using the bold button. And let's say I have a picture here which I want to include inline in my body copy. I could just hit Insert, and now I could either choose an image from my image archive, or I could upload images directly from my computer, which is what I'll do now. As I upload an image, it will appear directly in my news text, and it will also be archived in my central image archive. So I'll just choose an image archive category from the select box here, and then hit Select. If my image is way too big, which it is in my example here, I can just right-click on the image and hit Edit, and then I'm brought to the editing interface, where I can reduce the size of the image, which I'll also do here. I control the way the image flows relative to the text by right-clicking and choosing Image Properties. And here there's an alignment property, as well as margin settings. Now I'm done with my text and I can apply the relevant categories. I'll give it a category for Everybody Events, and I'll also deem that this is relevant to our producers and stores, so I'll add them too. There are 3 categories which could be applied to a news item, but they don't all necessarily need to be filled out. I'll choose an author and a source. I could create a new author or source on the fly as needed, and there's also a section in the module where I can maintain these lists. And next I'll choose an image and a link. As we've seen, you could add images and links inline to your news item. And these fields here are used if you want to display an image or a link as a separate element, such as we've done in our example, where there's an image to the left of each news item in our main news overview. So now I'll choose an image from a category that has images in the proper size. And I'll add a link to my overview of events, where the course in question is presented. When I hit OK, the news item is published, provided that the rules for displaying my news item are upheld, that is, that the date and category are within range. If I want to save the news item without publishing, then I could just adjust the date of the news item and thereby render it out of range. But we have a current date as well as a public category. So now when I go back and view my news page, we can see that our news overview is updated here, as well as in my teaser box. In this video, we've introduced Tangora's News module. We've seen a few examples of how news could be displayed on your site, and we've also created a news item and seen how this news item is published automatically based on date and category information we assign to the news item. Thanks for watching.